Okay, so I heard that. Thank you. Had a laugh.
I need a choice. You know, for agenda. That's
Already.
I am ready to go. Okay. All right, it is 6:02. We scheduled the meeting at 50 o'clock, so Patrick High School Flight Light. Welcome, everybody. Welcome to the dog, everybody who's got the dog. We are here for a public hearing and then a meeting of the planning board to address an application by Mr. Christie, who's present, for a change of zoning to a parcel of land that he owns in the shoreland zone. You have, or should have access to from your neighbor, 3 documents. The first is the agenda, which outlines the proceedings that are involved tonight. The second is the map of the area. And the map, this is from the official zoning town of West Florida. And this shows the vicinity where the application is and of course the neighboring properties. The easy reference point is the one with the lines, kind of the colored in. That, as you may recognize, is the lot of the co-op. That is, in and of itself, that lot is a CFMA zone, commercial fisheries maritime activity zone. And the property we're here to talk about tonight is next door to it. It's marked 7-50. That's the lot that Mr. Christie owns and would like to change the zoning. He would like to change the zoning from limited residential commercial district within the shoreline zone to commercial fisheries maritime activities district, also in the shoreline zone. So essentially converting it from one zone to another. Coincidentally, it's the same zone. That's probably not sure. The third document that you have, and that's so expectation you're going to read it while you're here, is a reference, the source of reference, 8 pages, the compilation from the statutes, from the ordinances, from the state model ordinance, and I think that's it. That I can file in the last 4 weeks and throughout the application to reduce the costs and form of the criteria and process that should be applied. Guidelines for the fall. All right, so just to get started, first of all, I want to establish that we have a quorum of the board.
Jeff is here. Jeff has joined us via Zoom.
Okay, I've got.
Good evening or good morning.
Sounds tight.
I understand for everyone's not, it's 4:30 in the morning with Jeffrey, so thank you for being here, Jeff. We have a quorum, and you call it meeting order. The first order of business, as we've said, and it's advertised as a public hearing. And as you can see there, in the first order, on the agenda, first item on the agenda is reading a public notice, outline of the action process. We'll do that. It'll just take me a couple minutes. Then we want to start with the applicant, Mr. Christie, who make his presentation. We'll get questions, invite the public to ask questions, and there's no rhyme or reason to it, but obviously, you should be respectful of each other's time so that everybody gets a chance to ask questions and speak. After public questions and input, then we'll have planning board questions. We'll close the public hearing and make sure everybody's had a chance to ask questions, make comment. We'll close the public hearing. Then we'll convene the board meeting and we'll talk about it and decide. The only decision that we have before us today is whether or not we're making a recommendation to the select board to put this before the town to make a change, if, that's what the recommendation is. So we have two layers. This is the first layer. We're making a recommendation. The next layer is a select board. They will then decide whether they're going to put it on for warrants for decision for the town. The town makes the final decision as to whether or not there's a zoning change. Here, it's very difficult. Yeah.
Close the public hearing, begin your regular meeting, or there still be Q&A, able to be answered.
Yeah, our question for me. Yeah, I mean, we want to be respectful of the time that we have, so. And it's a great question. What we don't want to do is rehash everything we just heard. So if there's anything new, by all means, okay? Right. We're listening, we're paying attention. And that's obviously the point of this is to get everybody's input and give everybody a chance to talk. Okay, so I'm not going to read the whole thing, but just to officially get us started, we'll open the public hearing regarding the proposed change to the zoning ordinance in the shoreland zone. Quote, pursuant to 30A NRSA 4352, notice is hereby given that Theodore Christie has requested the town of Westport Island consider a commercial fisheries maritime activity zoning for his property located at map 7, lot 50 in Westport Island, which is on the map that you all have. There's additional information. We won't read the whole thing, but if we need to talk about it, we'll. All right. I've outlined the issue already. I've outlined the process. So let's go ahead and get started. Ted, you're on.
And does anyone else need to sign this paper?
Yes, we have a flash open on here.
Thank you. For those I have not met before, my name is Ted Christie. I own and operate 2 small businesses along with my wife. I've been a licensed commercial lobsterman for 35 years, and we also own and operate Sheepshead River Marine Service, located at our home on Lock Cabin Road. Sheepshead River Marine Service builds new piers, ramps, and float, and makes repairs for different structures. We provide seasonal ramp and float removals and installs as well. Pole mooring services with our barge to residential customers and commercial fishermen and aquaculture businesses as well. A large percentage of our work is conducted on the water and independent head and water access. We recently purchased property in North End Road. Our plan is to utilize this land for both personal and business use. We do plan to build a pier, ramp, and float system on the property. We conduct a lot of business in the area, the north end and further above and below, for both residential and commercial customers. The pier will provide easier, more efficient loading, offloading of mooring supplies, new build materials, demo debris removal, tools, and other equipment. Like to install 2 moorings that will be used for the mooring barge and our service boats. The moorings will also serve as storm moorings for certain weather events for our boats. We do plan to clear an area sufficient for seasonal storage of floats for customers who have no on-site storage, and for all our work boats and barge as well. We will build floats on that site that are wider than 12 inches, actually 12 feet in width. We believe our request for CFMA zoning is reasonable and a proper use of this lot. The most recent comprehensive plan vision statement section states small businesses are ideal and would be encouraged, particularly fishing related aquaculture and home-based businesses. We are a small business with 2 full-time employees and are both Westport Island residents. In section 16 of the comprehensive plan, Westport Island strongly supports and encourages small businesses. Sheepshead River Marine Service currently provides service to many customers on the Sheepshead River. Of these customers, approximately 108 are Westport Island residents or property owners. The lot is consistent with use of neighboring land the property that butts this lot on the north side is CFMA zone. The zoning change is not solely for the benefit of the landowner. This will allow us to continue providing services to many island residents, along with supporting the servicing needs of local commercial fishing and aquaculture businesses. A large majority of our work, 80% or better, requires access to the water and is conducted on the water. We feel our CFMA request checks all the boxes necessary for a positive recommendation from the planning board.
Correct. You want to continue to stay?
Yeah, that's what I have.
All right, thank you very much. Questions, from the audience? David?
Can you describe what the envision is looking like as it's being built and when it's done?
As I said, the first part pretty clear. We're gonna clear what's available to us for storage purposes.
So it's open the road, we're gonna do slow campus the whole time, or we're gonna let the trees or get boats.
You know, on the upper half, there's potential for some storage there. It's fairly flat on top, but there's gonna be that tree line buffer run through along the full ditch here, so it's not gonna be cleared out completely up there at all. It's gonna be a plan. There's a buffer all the way down the side of the road. There's gonna be a large buffer along the hand draw here on the west side, because we're not really kind of a little area trying to maximize use of it, and also be sensitive to, you know, the neighbors and the property in the area, provide some decent buffers if we can.
Okay, so it's just gonna be like, when you say decent buffer, how many trees deep you be?
I couldn't give you a number on that. I know I've got the park where the power line goes in the ditch right there, we're not taking those trees off in around that ditch, there's probably 30, 40 foot buffer in the area.
And then you're gonna have access from directly from the top road or from both yards? Okay.
Other question?
Well, on that buffer part. I know you can't say trees, but I have a lot on the south. Is it a 10-foot buffer, a 6-foot buffer, 20-foot on my,
Probably, we looked at him along your driveway. I'll call the west side of it, say the shore side of it, is probably a good 25, 30 foot swath that we're not touching. Goes right down your driveway, returns by your fence, and that land slopes up on the side anyhow. So we're not going that far back, probably from the north property line, probably about 60 feet in towards your lot. And then down towards the water, so it's pretty significant buffer. The natural slope of that land towards you is kind of higher ledge, so we're not gonna get much involved in ledge for sure.
and another question on that line, would you be having lights at night?
No.
Cause that's my bedroom.
No.
You wanna sleep at night. Yes.
Are you gonna have offices there? We're gonna have a lot of traffic. What's the traffic?
I still enjoy walking to work in the morning, which is where our shop is at the other house. We have been building boats up there in the past, but anything over 12 feet, you can't transport out of log cabin up the road, so we built about 16 feet wide maps. The whole. Yeah, they're right up and put in a lot of people have to transform down that road. That's probably one building that you want to. And we like this, everything's based on budget, you know, there's a lot of work needs to be done. We would anticipate putting the building up sometime, but that's just for, you know, having inside storage for some of our boats, especially this time of year, we have a couple of boats taken out of the water, it's work on and service on these. And it's out of the weather.
But you're mostly anticipating traffic in spring and fall, kind of?
So, yeah.
We just have 2 employees, we're late.
I'm not a retail business,
Well, I was thinking traffic for people bringing boats in and out.
well, we're running lots of them, my strip your boat,
Yeah.
my boats, for years, son, daughter and son-in-law. We have a couple boats. Hopefully, we can find storage on site for those, and personally, just not it.
Was roughly how many boats you're gonna have on?
I have 2 service boats, I have a barge, I have my lobster boat. Lobster, I have a couple of old personal boats, 3 boats.
Over 1,000 boats roughly?
What's that?
Under 1,000?
100 dozen? Yeah, it's three, plus a bar, okay,
Okay,
that. I hope they want any more than that.
Okay, put structure up on the top part. To store the boat or down on the lower?
I'm thinking of the top part.
Yeah.
Well, one thing I wanted to mention was, I found the newest sketch that I could find, my husband had. So my. And that one says the road that comes in, my driveway, it said road is trapped. It says on that drawing. Before that, it was a right of way. But I just wanted you to know that, we purchased that and we have a deed, and that's our road.
Yes, he's written easement, 30 feet wide. I'm correct.
I don't know.
Yeah.
What do you explain that to me? What do you mean?
On the survey map, it shows it had an easement 30 feet wide.
But what I'm thinking about is your possible use of the road. I just wanted to know it's my road.
Yeah.
What do you
I
say?
understand. I mean. Ideally, it looks like it's just the natural path is down the hill where you're driving it, but. Our property line is so close to the co-op property line, it's like it's very flat level there, part of the trees are removing there, it looks like they're trying to access it, this past your driveway. I don't think they haven't been into your driveway, it's very perfect.
You said it's just going to be your boats. Are you expecting it to ever exceed 10 boats? Because I know with limited use, you can have up to 10 boats. So-
I have zero interest in servicing other people's boats.
Okay, so as is right now, you can have up to 10 boats.
I guess that's for business, I have no interest in, I personal use for my boats, so my personal storage.
well, as residential, you can have 10 votes.
Or no, as limited use commercial, you can have up to 10 boats, so as is.
My boats, my service boats, barge, lots of boats, and it said.
So why do
Very
you need
small
to change the zoning then?
The CFMA, the biggest thing with CFMA, it allows up to 70% clearing for trees. A lot area, it allow me to build an actual access road down to the shore, to the dock. Which couldn't get residential. I could build a structure within the called buffer zone for one for a small storage building down next to the
Down on
pier,
the
on the pier, within the 75 feet. That's allowed, CFMA, which you not that with a residential commercial.
It's really getting closer to the water, allowing you to get
Right,
closer to
the
the water,
access to
to
the
work at the water.
That exactly.
And so would most of the construction be outside, or are you building a structure, any sort of shelter down by the water?
Yeah, in the future, yeah, outside, yeah. As we had been doing the last several years.
Just clarification, sounds like you're not planning to store other people's boats and winterize them and store them there.
Correct.
Okay, I see.
Sorry, if you have a boat.
And it doesn't sound like you're planning to build a personal residence of any kind.
We're happy where we are.
I should point out that, we know you, everybody likes you, right? Yes. We were all that man forever. And that's something that we need to take into consideration, from a town perspective going forward. Because I didn't get a chance to read it all, but thank you for the research. Because there's not a lot of restriction. There are a lot of things that are permitted on this type of property that are within, they're not prohibited within this classification. That are somewhat hazardous, as I read this, so, if the property changed hands. It could be a whole different gig, right?
The
Or
standard,
we can decide they wanna put something else down, to generate a lot more traffic. Potentially some hazardous material.
well, that's a law that's addressed in what's allowed and not allowed. CSMA, like 10 or 12 different. Notices there what's allowed, what's disallowed.
This is,
No marinas.
CFMA is not listed suggesting these areas are permitted. Permitted, let's see if it's, okay, got it, sorry, I was reading out.
I haven't read through all of that, and I do not oppose you at all, Mr. Metcalf. You're a good business person. My only concern is a year from now, because I don't know what else can be there. But a year from now, 2 years from now, you decide you don't want to do that. It's still CFMA. And somebody might want to cut fish bait and store it there and open store it all. It might not be so good. That's my concern, not technical. But once you change the zone, it's changed, and so you need to change it back. I think.
Long-term, and financial properties, stay there as long as possible, I think.
I said,
The service we provide is gonna long outlast our lives, and then the servicing of peers and grants and closest is not gonna go anywhere, so. My intent is to make sure that the business is viable long after us, and it's gonna be here for someone. Work is not gonna go away. You have a buyer that stays that way. Only increase over time.
And also, this is, so regularly.
Sure. That's enough.
Yeah.
All right.
Did I forget my question?
All right, other questions from the public? I'm just looking at the list, the sign up list, I don't see anybody else who indicated they wanted to ask questions or speak. That obviously is not binding, so if anybody has something, Julie, looks like.
Debating what I want to say, but I appreciate everything that you're saying. And as long as it's staying with what you're saying, I have no issue. My thought process is I don't want to be looking out at a commercial boatyard at the bottom of my driveway and having it changed. So if 10 years from now, you decide it's better to become a commercial boatyard and I'm looking and there's more traffic on the road and more people delivering boats. And I know that I have gone to a boatyard and started working on the boats, and strangers are coming into our neighborhood and working on their boats. Because, oh, it's off season, I'm gonna get my boat ready in the boatyard before I go off. And I just don't want to be looking at just a corner lot of boats on a residential street. But those are my only concerns. And also, should something happen and it change hands, and then all of a sudden we have a lot that's open for commercial use. Otherwise, I have no issue because I know you and I like you and I've worked with you, and
you know, we have daughters that are long, they're in with us. So I'm sorry, I wasn't on the list to speak.
Could you speak up just a little bit? I'm sorry.
Sit on the hands, but, you know, in our thought process, and they are very, they love the water, they know the business, they're getting to know our business more and more all the time, and when we decide to retire, which is probably not for many years, and we have 2 guys that live on the island that, you know, between our kids and our workers, they would probably continue that business, which would be well served for the island. You know, and we don't plan on it. No, we're not gonna have.
Follow up with that, I mean, the CFMA actually simply says they do not allow marinas.
Yeah,
And there's a provision up to 10 boats, well, that's not pretty much of a business for somebody, if they want to go up to 10 boats, so if it's don't, it will not happen. You know,
that's,
it's just not, it's not gonna be business for anybody, you know, 10 boats. So marina's not even allowed in CFMA.
well, it is 10 boats as is right now.
as is right now, well,
So, yeah, for commercial, and that's why. For limited use right now is like the 10 bucks, so that's why.
but right now, the CFMA is looking at more like the 75-foot mark. That's because we walked with Gary and with Gary, yes, right? So we walked the lot with Gary and said where we would like to clear right now. And what we're clearing right now is within the percentage of what's allowed in the limited residential. We're not taking any more than we should, which we've marked Scott down below and what marked Scott. But so we're not, the reason we want to go into the CFMA is so they can get access to the water. Because we do a lot, like I said, with residential, commercial, it gives us access to that side of the island. Instead of coming all the way around, you can leave a boat there and it's always been above the water. So anyone can call day or night, and I'll be right there for you.
I respect that, we wanna maintain
Yeah, I
the
understand.
integrity of our neighborhood.
I totally understand that. And we're pretty quiet here, and you can ask anybody, we are at the end of Log Cabin Road.
Oh, I
you can
love
probably-
going down your road.
And it's, you can probably ask any one of our neighbors if we increase the traffic, they probably don't even know we're there.
I think we're all happy with you too, it's just after you, it's, so.
Well,
Yeah.
after us, hopefully it passes to them, then it passes to our guys, you know, and it always, so, like I said, could be a drone business, sure, but we wanna have time to breathe, and we like the two guys, we take on what work we can handle, and that's what I think. So, yeah, we're not looking to expand it, we're looking to, we work great with the co-op. And we're just looking to someplace to build our floats and to store our floats and so in the off season and boats and how it goes between all of us, and we've got enough boats.
How late at night do you work on them?
12.
Actually,
Oh, so that's time you start more.
before the light.
We're gonna start. Took all the stuff into 3.
Yeah, unless we're chasing tides.
Mm.
All right, other questions? Questions, comments? I'm just gonna ask real quickly, we've heard from one butter, and that's Ms. Sewell.
So,
Sewell, thank you, apologize, Sewell. And the other one's of course is the co-op, is there anybody here from, did you have anything to say on behalf of the Logical Co-op?
Yes, I can.
Yeah, that'd be great.
But first of all, I've become a member of this group because I understand it. I received a text and a phone call.
Oh, lucky,
My
lucky,
name is Dana Falkingham.
yes, welcome.
I was president of North End Co-op for the first 12 years of this operation.
You received the most, that did many others.
Yep.
And you're also the chair of the Shellfish Committee, all right?
Harbor Committee.
Harbor Committee.
Okay. Yeah.
And I work very, very close with Ed and Debbie. Debbie operates as well. In the middle of the summer or late summer, I don't remember the exact date. But Ed came to us to purchase the property. Now, we purchased the property from Robert Hanson many, many years ago. And his words to me were, Dana, do with this property what's appropriate for the North End Co-op. He says, it's a double lot. And so when Ted approached me last summer, it was like a win-win. We worked hand in hand with him, spring and fall, handling boats, ramps, new ones, old ones, with our travel lift. So they're gonna be wonderful neighbors. The traffic you see on the co-op won't change any, because we're the busy ones up there. We have a lobster truck coming in and out every day. We have big trucks coming in several times a week. And that's gonna continue. But we welcome Ted. Look forward to it. They're gonna be great neighbors.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Faulkner, appreciate it. Julie and Jason, I know you all are butters as well, at least on the other side. Is there any other butters who?
We're next to Julie and Jason.
Okay, great, thank
We've
you.
got the next two lots.
Okay,
And I'm next to Pam. Pam's the
very good, very good.
my touch. Come put. Really close.
Yes, do that. All right, yeah, definitely interested in hearing from the butters. We feel like that pretty lot of things that you all have any help want to share with us or any questions you have with that.
I think our biggest fear is that it's gonna change the neighborhood. Because we live on such a beautiful, quiet road. You know, we got a lot of walkers on that road all the time, and, you know, that's our biggest fear.
Yeah,
So it's gonna be a big ugly scar, and it's beautiful, pristine tree lines on it.
I understand, change stuff sometimes, but we
I
try.
don't like change.
We try, yeah, but I know we are certain I want to do that. We plan to be a good neighbor and keep the buffer as best we can and do some planting that would help, we're not opposed to that. We want to keep the rural character as much as we can. We still operate from the property if we need to. We'd like that here. Yeah.
So do you bring up low traffic down through?
Not- Actually, not much is gonna change. We've been actually driving, as Lady mentioned, since 2008. We've been building floats on site there occasionally. Plus our residents floats have been stored on the property. My barge is stored there right now, as a matter of fact, we haul demo material out of there to the travel lift and we use their park them over there doing cats, so. Got a small crew, two working, I say 4-man crew, my wife's the fourth woman. So you can sell them, two other young men, so. And a retail outlet of any kind. You know, the association, no traffic being generated, already experienced since 2008.
Question, I just had one, I guess, kind of a broader perspective, for Westport Island as a whole. Zoning gets a lot of attention from people. Because it does impact, or potentially can impact. Values on their homes and their lifestyle in the place they selected to live. And we love Westport Island because it is in fact. Almost exclusively residential. And we have so few. Commercial enterprises, quote unquote, on the island. You probably count them all on basically one hand, maybe one finger, I don't know. You've got, you've got the farm, you got the brewery, you got the Starbucks, and you've got the pottery operation, operation. Okay. So we're predominantly residential and just like our little peninsula. It's a narrow peninsula and it's residential on two sides with ocean with waterfront. So I think we value that aspect of the island. And I think a zoning process should be a comprehensive process, not a one-off process. So I would encourage the selectmen to consider that on a going forward basis so that we have some rhyme and reason behind our thoughts and plan for the island over the long term.
This really isn't a one-off either. There's currently 9 CFMA districts designated on the island right now. 2 of them are our 2 lots on Log Cabin Road that was put in place in 2015. So I think since 99 and 2000, when they adopted some CFMA zones, that's all that's materialized. I don't see. It's a unique situation, it's not gonna be for everybody. They handle obviously on a case by case basis, and you have to have a good read and thought, and I think there are other reasons. I think what we have is specific to this. These are the type of businesses that Island wants based on a comprehensive plan. Multi-island is small business, home occupation, home businesses, and that's what we are. To maintain the rural character of the island as well. There's said not much commercial. I would still call the brewery pretty much a small home business, a small base business. Probably Chesterfield's the biggest operation you see on the island as far as the ability for commercial, but not much is going to change. I don't think if it's.
And I appreciate that. All I'm saying is that I think it would be wise for the island as a whole. Where do we want these kinds of zones? Where do we consider commercial zones if any? We just don't want to accidentally wind up turning into Harpswell. I like Harpswell, I lived there for a couple of years, but I don't want a big restaurant like the Dolphin on the end of a peninsula where people have to, people drive by those properties in droves every day, and we can manage that long term as a lifestyle.
Very good, for any other questions, comments? All right, Ted, you're standing up for a while.
Obviously,
Well, I was gonna say, well, keep you on the hot stand for.
All right, well, I'll grab my notes just in case I need them.
Carry on, go ahead. Questions from the board?
So first finishing, hopefully I don't sound you very well, I wanted to understand where your driveway is. And how it crosses the said properties. I just said it's looking at this one or not. If you are, I can sketch it. That's what's enough to order work. Yeah, I can sketch. It's the north end road. So, yeah, road. Lost a whole lot. This is the June way right off this way.
You bought the way.
This lot, and this is where he's going to. That's the things. You'll be out of the
I think this is a hot seat.
Right, oh, I'm down here, and you turn the bus around. We have that chapter, so you'll see the resources.
You only
So
15 minutes.
It's great.
Hold on, Mary, we're kind of breaking things up here. Mary Ellen, could you stand up and kind of indicate on your drawing or if you public report?
So. Here's near down the road, here's the boatyard road. Pam's house, and so here's your drive, so the drive, this is the right of way that you have. It's my needed driveway. Yeah. You drive, you need right of way, so it comes from the boatyard road across your property now, and then onto the adjoining property, okay? Yes, it's down from the road above. It's so he does not right away. They initially was come through your drive. No, but that's the way it was set up. And then sure. Okay. Any questions on that's great. I'm just not familiar with it. So
That's the co-op.
yes, yeah.
A picture.
It's kind of now the I don't bet on one.
After Rodman.
You are here from down.
Take that picture of it, making the records that will, other people will look at and see, it's fun to make sure we have a touchdown. That's or anyway, see what we're doing here. I'm sure that's. Okay, Mary Ellen, any other questions?
What's the process, you know, I know that. Our goal here tonight, is to discuss this and decide on whether we're gonna recommend something, and then maybe it has a path forward here. But also, if it gets approved by town meeting, Stilts Head needs to comply with our site plan review regulations, so that these prospective details about how he's going to use it still has to get reviewed by the planning board. And then if it gets changed down the road after maybe he does retire, and it turns into something else, and it's a new business, I'm gonna say it's a new business, they too have to get site plan review. So the point about concern, which is totally valid, is something that's gonna be reviewed by the planning board, based on looking at the site plan review and the shoreline zoning ordinance. So there's a lot of review that comes after moving this forward here, but that's what I'm deciding.
For commercial activity.
Yeah.
The site plan review.
Yep.
Right. And that is where we, the business owner walks us through what the day-to-day is, what the traffic is, there's a lot of similar questions that you had here today. So those are things that we take into consideration.
People get into the conversation, then questions with that right now.
One question, did the CFMA zoning affect any other setbacks other than, the clearing?
Setbacks, I'm allowed to build a road within the 75-foot buffer to the, so at the pier, you can place a structure within that 75-foot setback, either within the 75-foot buffer or actually on the pier as well.
And does it affect any of the sidelines or setbacks on the road?
Sidelines are the same, yeah. It's mostly the within the 75-foot buffer and the clearing of the wall, the land area.
Jerry, go ahead.
One caveat, Your question is, the reduced setback for a structure, that 75-foot setback, that structure has to be water dependent. You can't take a structure that doesn't require direct access to the water and place it within that buffer zone just because it's CFMA zone. You could not.
So it could be like a beach and.
No.
Jeff, can you hear us?
I think we lost Jeff.
Not for that.
Okay. All right, going around again, Mary Ellen. And based upon the board's questions, public area other questions about it. I think you all did a really great job of pointing it out, so. And one question I had is, we've heard concerns about, you know, if you sell it, if you retire, the succession and interest on the property, obviously. Anything you intended to do with it isn't binding on anybody in the future. Some people in the future, you know, somebody from China can buy it, or you can do something totally different. Have you given any thought to a zoning approval that carried conditions? And if so, what those conditions might be?
No, I never thought any conditions.
Okay.
Excuse me, are there any, is there any signage with this?
None. I don't have a sign on our vehicles.
Okay, so I have 15 minutes left in the public hearing. Last call for everybody. Okay, we'll close the public hearing. Ted, thank you very, very much.
Thank you.
And your faith guide or two. Okay. We have some public things that we need to take care of. I'll take about 5 or 10 minutes. I've got thanks for the first item on the agenda is approval of prior amendments.
That's very nice.
Thank you all. Thank you very, very much for this.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Absolutely.
Sure. And it's. Yeah, sorry, very fun. Cyber. No, I picture that. Where is well, no, close. There we go. Doctor. Ivan.
Still.
That's one I heard.
And they need that.
Yes.
Yeah, most definitely.
You're.
Well,
Not retired, but let's go on here.
That's all. Let's go on. That's how.
Probably.
That's happening. It's.
Everyone run chase. That's right, wrong.
Those are, no, it's,
Okay, well. You right now on board, so. You guys. Yeah, you like. Say about this season, that. Yeah. All great.
You're okay?
Yeah, I just look at this.
It's a lot.
It's fine, just you there?
Walk back. Come back to that.
No, I know. But yeah, see, that's a little moments. So. It's all.
You better talk to the guys on the telephone, watching what you're doing, man. You should have that, you know, like, I mean, so, yeah, mind that. Keep them there.
No, but I shouldn't be, you really. I mean, she used to tell me, what, because if you start, when he's been so late.
That's happy on the just talk, you know, it's a.
Hours of his life, like, yeah, about honoring my strength.
It's quite a bit. What are you hearing?
So, I'm gonna get you some Ted,
Is that for me? Why do you want to correct people? So.
okay, good day. The art and the very old, right? Yeah, we do. Yep.
I'll let you have that will stay on that. It's a good. Bring your house.
Yes, thank you. One part, any other, we'll get into the other results, well, we have to consider. Okay, well, we're at the stage in our regular meeting where we can public comment. And maybe other things that folks have to talk about. And, I would preemptively. It's close enough, in the beginning, not in the future, where we're going forward. Like application forms, versus in Europe, where the bottom says we close the public hearing, the last concept or anything at all. It's not already been discussed. Anything else? That's what is that. Comments?
Yeah, it's here.
I know there's a conversation going on in the back room, but I just want to make sure. Those participating in that conversation have an opportunity to say anything more to us based upon what we've already done. Okay, hearing none. All right. We'll close in public comment. Next item, consideration of recommendations to the select board regarding its request to change the zoning in map 7 lot 50 from limited residential commercial district to commercial fisheries maritime activities district. All friends of the board. Discussing questions, issues, closed action.
I have a new question.
Yes.
So I've heard a lot of concern about future uses, new owners, what could potentially happen in that zone. What processes do we have in place that might mitigate that? I've heard site plan review, is there anything else? And site plan review, it's not a town process, right? The town meeting makes this initial zoning change and then decisions after that would go through the planning board. Is that right?
And possibly the food enforcement person, depending on.
Yeah, so, yeah, so, I mean, for, not just board, Ted made the presentation to us 4 weeks ago, about a month or so ago. And in that 4 week period of time, we've been working hard to drop the speed on this process. The laws that apply, the ordinances apply, and all the guys is yes. So, so we've been looking at the ordinances, we've been looking at statutes, we've been looking at what happened in the past, 2015, and Ted was very generous in sharing that information in 2015 that helped get us started. April in her capacity as the clerk, had there's our request or at least a suggestion, contacted the MMA, which is basically the Maine Municipal Association that provides legal assistance. We don't have a town attorney sitting here to give us legal advice as we go along. Like that happens in bigger communities, bigger towns, even have that. Do have a tremendous resource in the MMA, which on a phone call, email, send us a lot of information. They sent April a lot of information. I shared it with Ted, I shared it with others. I think Mr. Buckingham, I sent you a copy of that as well. So that we would be as transparent as possible about what information we was looking at and gathering to try to connect dots. And it's been a journey, I'll tell you that. At least for me, I started over here and I kind of ended up over here and learning about how this all works. So to answer question, April, based upon what it's not a definitive answer, but based on what I've learned, certainly the site plan review is one check and balance or kind of guardrails, if you will. So keep in mind that one gentleman said, once you change the zone, you can do a lot of things in this area that you can't do now. And the site plan only gives you other guardrails, allowing those things that otherwise are prohibited. So in a nutshell, the site plan review or any participation by us or the CEO, making improvements would be within regulation, within the ordinance that sets the definition of what you can do. An example, as Ted said, there are things he can do within the 75 feet of the water line in a CFMA zone, he can't do currently. So the regulation says, okay, you can do it. There is no limit. So in applying the ordinance to what he's doing, you say, okay, he's planning to do this, up to the shoreline, and it says he can't. So we check that box. And the second question is, and the issue raised is the succession, right? I mean, everybody is recently concerned about the fact, in 50 years or 20 years, you can still do whatever you do here, but Ted may not be doing. So everybody has 1,000% confidence and confidence and embracing what Ted is proposing, but at some point, there's going to be somebody else on that land, and they can do things that he may not plan to do.
Right.
So the question is, and that's why I asked about conditional, there's a provision for conditional zoning. And, I'll confess I haven't exhausted my research on that. I'd be interested in getting some more input from you. But I think for the purpose tonight, if we put conditions on it, this is all in the recommendation. And go to the select board, by that time, they get sort of how conditional part works. I'm sure they're at public hearing, people have to public hearing, everything. So at any rate, so I think we can propose that. And if they say, no, you can't do that, then that's the answer. If they say you can, then the select board decides what we do. So I don't think we're foreclosed from recommending that. Certainly not binding it.
Is that
I
in
think that's the
the
way to.
ordinance, the conditional zoning, is that in the current shoreline zoning ordinance?
It's the statute say you can do that.
I've read it all, but I didn't think it was actually that's in the ordinance, double on this.
Yeah.
We read through it, and said, I remember looking.
That's one things with that being a mortgage. What we can allow. And I don't want to answer.
I'm a little concerned with
talking about conditions, when we're projecting 20 years down the road, 50 years down the road, and what does it mean? Is we still are gonna be looking at regulations, they're gonna guide the new owners, who are the new owners are. And so I'm a little concerned about going down this path of conditions that we're not even familiar with that as of today, John. So I'm a little, considerate to add those to whatever just recommends. That's my 2 cents.
Yeah, all we're doing is throwing out the net as wide as we can. I don't wanna foreclose anything. I don't want to, you know,
The code and conditions you requested on this, it hasn't been. Any conditions placed on any previous CFMAs, no conditions arose in 2015 and I had 2 laws. You know, you make like you think there's a lot more things you could do with CFMA. If you look at the table of land uses, there's not that much different. What you can and can't do, much as I mentioned earlier, the lot clearing, some work within the buffer. Other than that, it's not much difference between limited residential commercial and CFMA. It's not, you may be thinking there is, but there's not. Within the CFMA, residential district, you can convert a seasonal residence into year round. If that was in CFMA, you could, that's pretty significant difference. Which you can't do with CFMA. You can't put a campground in CFMA, but you could in limited residential / commercial. I'd say my wants to. There's not a huge amount of difference. If you look at the table of land uses, these right down the boxes of highlight, a lot of difference between a significant part of the land clearing and it's working certified. So I'm certainly opposed to conditions. You mentioned this part.
One thing that stood out to me, I did read the shoreline zoning section of the planning board manual to get ready for tonight. And they did mention in there that the planning board must follow the existing ordinance and reviewing applications. So I don't think we would be doing anything outside of what we already have then. Yeah, so as it stands right now, Westport Island really has 3 zones, correct? Limited residential, resource protection, and CSMA. There's one more.
Limited development.
Limited development. Is that within resource protection as well, or?
It's separate. Separate.
So, you know, compared to other towns, we really don't have. Zoning, so that I understand how people, you know, take this seriously. My other question is. If that was a question, but my other question is the changes that we make to the zoning, you know, with the town, with the county, with the state, what is the process of that? Is there any like cost for rezoning and reporting on that, and is that shown on our GIS system only? Just kind of, you know, to keep that in mind, because it's not just I understand it's not just a one-off, but approving, like one resident mentioned, approaching this in a comprehensive way instead of application by application, and maybe thinking of it more cohesively, and so that we don't continue to reapply all of our and redo all of our maps. I don't know, and our ordinance, right? That was my first impression. You know, when Ted, actually, I think you were, Deb brought it up, Ted, when you came to me. The ordinance is already inaccurate.
Right.
There's missing properties. It's very difficult to keep it.
When it was amended, our lots weren't put in.
Actually added to the ordinance.
I mean,
But they are the tax.
right, they were very, but they know.
And I can go back in that warrant article and I think I could just fix it because it didn't pass at town meeting, so I can really just fix it. And I will, but aside from that, it just strikes me as an odd way to do this, to amend our ordinance every time we want to add a single property. Like, shouldn't there be a process that doesn't have to go through town meeting and actually amend the ordinance? I don't know, but that's why I kind of started poking around with MMA, and the DEP agency. And they all raised a concern, which I think might be relevant to this review tonight, which is that we need to be really careful to avoid spot zoning. They didn't come right out and say the way you do it is wrong, but they said, getting awfully close to spot zoning. So there's a nice little set of criteria related to spot zoning, which I think you might have sent around, John. But I read today in the Pennsylvania manual again, with just a list of things to look at to make sure we aren't spot zoning. And I think the way Ted described it, we could approach this favorably without spot zoning, but we want to be really careful and make sure we go through those criteria. And maybe down the road, look at how we do it as a overall process.
So it looks like there's some interest in trying to take a look at it region by region or comprehensively, but right now, you have these 4 districts that each of them have named properties. And so that's why it looks like we're, we're spot zoning, because we're adding one more property to one of the districts. Or shifting them, and I think until we look at this comprehensively, we're stuck with this kind of odd process here. So I was usually not spot zoning, but I see the way that we've got the zoning lined up here, and it's gonna take a bit. To comprehensively look at this and suggest some modification to it.
We don't have a harbor, we don't have a commercial zone, so it makes sense to develop this way. But I think maybe there could be a process that's easier for folks like Ted who are interested in this. And that give like townspeople a little more certainty.
But yeah, thinking about what the zoning is,
But it's gonna be a big job.
yeah, and yeah.
Not for tonight. Yeah.
As it, the process exists and based off the hearing, and the butters and the residents, their feedback and their trust in the properties owners, I feel like I have a nice understanding and.
Is there a way to rescind this, or would it be necessary to rescind this at some point in time? And what would that incur? You simply,
Like 50 years in the future.
20 years, 5 years?
Yeah. Well, the thing about looking for zoning is in order to be amended, so bend it forward, get that back. But you have to be careful if you're changing your zoning in a more restrictive way, saying you can't do something that you could when bought property. That raises potential constitutional issues, taking. As you say, you're devaluing, you're subtracting value from the property, not to do the job. So that raises other issues, in a nutshell, a lot harder to do than what we're doing here for allowing things that you can't do without. That's not gonna sue us, that's what, allowing something that to be, otherwise it's gonna do. So anyway, so to answer your question, it's sort of possible, but not a lot harder.
Yes, so back to the question of succession, does that transfer automatically with the ownership of that piece of property?
Yeah, I mean, zoning runs with the land for that term, so, easy way to think about it, outside of West Ohio. You've got a large community that has residential. Here, in that zone residential, over here, it's zoned industrial, they've got, paper mill, oil refinery, where uses of the land that aren't really compatible with swing sets and theater bars, residential. So the idea of zoning is the community plans, okay, we're gonna do this stuff over here and this stuff over here, and then buffers, what have you. So once you establish that zone, whoever moves in and out, and you lives with that zone, almost exchange. So that would be the same thing here. We have a CFMA zone where the owns the property inheritance of that zoning, and
It's kind of good here though, because the way we're doing it, which is like, well, we're just like a commercial, okay, we go to commercial and then they stop doing something commercial and it remains that way. And we do have property listed in the ordinance right now where people have closed up, moved away, got divorced, whatever, and they're still CFMA even though there's no commercial activity there. Which in a way that's weird, because you're setting aside land for commercial activity, maybe they built something there that's commercial, or maybe it doesn't, maybe there's nothing there that's commercial and it would make sense to shift it back. to residential, but I don't think we have any. Like mechanism to do that, I guess we would just amend the ordinance again,
Yeah, that's.
and like how, who would decide that, who would like.
Yeah, just for everybody's benefit. That's very quite. Yeah, so we've got, Gloucester Co-op, operating here at the CFMA. We've got property about a half mile south of the bridge, that was in Marina, that's CFMA. We've got, these Allen's operation, that's CFMA. We've got Ted's operation, the other side there, and that's CFMA. So those examples, and yeah, it's kind of, I mean, it's spotty, right? It's here and there. If we had a robust, marine industry or island, you could envision a whole section of the island, coast being designated as kind of the marine industry section and everything else, and boat yards, restaurants on the docks, buying and selling gas. I mean, I've heard that's come up, questions been asked, it's kind of, we selling gas there, and we haven't heard that at all. You're going to disappoint a lot of people.
No snack bar.
Yeah. Sure. But that's kind of exact. But we don't have that, we don't have, at least right now, we don't have a plan or any real, movement, for, that kind of activity on the island. And, necessity that, well, okay, we want to promote it, want to provide for it, but we also want to protect the residential / rural character of the island, which is one of the dominant themes of the comprehensive plan. But we're not there yet. So yes, we're kind of in this sort of in between where, we have folks, well, thankfully we want, doing this kind of, engage this kind of activity on the land, and it's, at this level, it appears, based upon the for tonight, to be low impact on the residential point tonight. It's almost, considered there's almost complementary to what we're doing here, and some folks to in position. But yeah, in terms of the planning and thinking it forward as a community, the only thing we can count on for sure is things are going to change. And so you want to kind of keep ahead of that process in place and have thought about, okay, so I find a big interest when the folks in China want to make Westport Island maritime activity, then want to be ahead of that. All of a sudden that property becomes more expensive than that.
Yeah.
So long as that's a better way of saying, in a safe area, but you want to be thoughtful about what we're going to be doing forward.
And getting back to April's question, there comes a time where you think the property zone CFMA that couldn't be, obviously it has to go to town meeting, it's about, because it's a zone change. But there's three avenues to get a parcel zoned CFMA. The property owner can go to the select board and request it being placed on the warrant. The select board has the authority to say, yes, we'll do it. The planning board can recommend to the select board, a piece of property be zoned that CFMA. Or, there can be a petition, 10% of the last majority vote. It stands to reason that the inverse of that would apply. So if the planning board was looking at a parcel that's no longer being used for anything marine related, you could go to the select board and say, it doesn't make sense that this property is in the zone. That's one end. The select board can do it on their own. Alternatively, if somebody was standing in the neighborhood was living next door to one of these properties, they could go out and petition them
So it's not out of the question, that it could be brought and voted, but ultimately it has to be a legislative law. Yeah, great.
Are those procedures identified in the any ordinance?
Yeah.
There.
Well, procedures are identified and, creating a new one, and what Gary is saying, you can reverse the process. There's nothing, someone says it's not reverse it, but.
Well-
Right, yeah,
As we look. Oh, thank you, Charlotte. Thank you.
but,
Be careful.
just to put a cap on that. But see, the owls. Take it. I mean, Ted's gonna invest, that goes a lot of money and time, effort, and the village here, the stocks, which if the zoning is reversed, are now, it should be there. Well, but you've got the grandfather issue, you've got the taking, you can't use them, that's gonna be an expensive proposition, so yes, I mean, it can be done, there's no question about it. A lot easier if nothing, that's done, or if it's been abandoned. But it's not, it's easy to on that one,
So tonight, we're gonna evaluate Ted's request based on the existing ordinance. Yes. And all I saw in the existing ordinance is the CFMA district includes areas where the existing predominant pattern of development is consistent with the allowed uses for this district as indicated in the table of land uses. I've read that sentence a lot, and like, I think it's going in a circle, but okay.
What are you from?
This is from our own ordinance, from the CFMA section. It's a tiny little intro sentence and then it goes on a list of property. That's what the sentence says, because where the existing predominant pattern of development is consistent with the allowed uses of the district. So I think that's pretty much our standard from the ordinance.
Well, in terms of changing the zoning, it's a little broader than that. I mean, in these statutes, the case law, whatever. And I'm the written way started with the way I saw it. Number one, the codes are consistent with the comprehensive plan. Statutes, case law, pretty clear, that's the first thing to look at, it's consistent with the comprehensive plan. And to address that in his comments, thank you for that. Two, is it in the best interest of the community? Three, is it consistent with the use of neighboring land? Or is this not solely for the benefit of the landowner, or is other benefits to the community at large? Again, to address that, and obviously is a water dependent. And that's the list I came up with, and others may have other things they want to consider too, but so I think those are the criteria for that.
Sounds like a good list. Did you get that from any source specifically, or was that kind of a?
Yeah, MMA, it's title, pages, there's like 10 or 11, and then taste, they saw. I think I told it, so that's how I'm sure.
Yeah.
And then clear, I mean, to be clear, and I'm reading from a parking environment protection model shoreline zoning ordinance, which this is, part of our environmental protection officer agency, what they say isn't binding, but it provides the guidance, because they're the ones that are ultimately applying statutes. Ted's gonna have to go before them after he's done, it's faithful, it's reaction from the town. In one of their notes, they said a municipality may opt to identify one or more CFMA districts, each of which may be as small as a single parcel. For me, in looking at the spot zoning and the regional analysis, that was really instructive, because here you have folks who are experts in the state on the anticipating the very scenario we have here. You have individual parcel, individual land. They want to do a little bit more with their land than they can do now. And so that is something they anticipated and acknowledged was going to happen.
It's the rest of that sentence that gives me pause.
Provide- Provided that the municipality includes in this district or combination of CFN districts, all land currently occupied are suitable for active water and tenant uses, taking into consideration the above listed factors.
And this is again for a future conversation, so I don't wanna get too bogged down in that, but that kind of implies to me. You might wanna like evaluate our shortfall properties and be like, "Oh, this is where it makes sense, this is where it makes sense, this is where it makes sense. Not here, not. But again, I don't know, it's just, it's so more cut in that, in like,
The other comment that I pulled from that, that ends, but we can just kind of perhaps our practice here. The development of waterfront management strategy can be a complex process. There are many different techniques, of course, it's to my, there's still a friendly competitive interest of complex view versus residential versus commercial, and that's going to be true everywhere. And anywhere, but it's not as big in the art here because the use is kind of consistent with what's already being done in terms of residential use, because most of the folks who live on the water want to have access to the water. And recreational versus commercial, particularly given Ted's commercial activity, there's more of it, not a whole lot. Okay. Decision to add more term.
to share a meeting.
And are you recommending that we are you moving the deed record to the select board that we approve the change in the zoning from for map 7 lot 50 from the limited residential commercial district to the commercial fisheries and maritime activities district.
Do
Okay. Is there a second?
second.
Okay. All in favor? Okay, unanimously. Coincidentally, I drafted up a something for us to sign. And it was provided for all of the options, so I'll just write through the ones that don't apply, so we can sign. Then we'll get a file to on the line. That's very good.
We're passing this on to the select.
Pardon?
We're passing this on to the select. We're passing this on to the select.
Yeah, so you start with the you need each other.
Any other comments from anybody else? Thank you all very, very much. I appreciate your patience and appreciate all of you who received all the stuff that the fun journalists.
Yeah, I'm trying that for Sean.
Yes.
Share.
All right, you guys are welcome to stay. We got a couple of things, but all right, so
Great.
it's right, you don't have. That's okay. So you don't.
She had, I'm good, how do you? I'm fine. She. You build all of the homes? We got. Well, that's good. Yeah. Yeah, this is about. Nothing but once. Work is a meeting. Probably we can stick my.
Ready.
Sorry. What's that?
Right now, they always do. Thank you, I'm going to. And there were new units. Even failed, and I know I might go up more than 5 weeks. You know,
All right.
2 points and stuff like that.
Okay. I'm gonna throw it in with this. That, and if there's a name in it. No. But we're saying, we need to different. Also, do we have many dollars? Yeah. Please.
Maybe.
I'm sure you're doing,
Yeah.
You will say that at all. Yeah.
That's good. Yeah. He said, like, what we can remind. Yeah. Yeah. So, you know. Well, yeah, it's almost. We're gonna get it.
Maybe we'll break and see, so that you're like, oh, no, we're gonna get to the track and let me get. No, actually, we're not going to change here. No problem. The articles, like, there's a lots of things. So you're not from the salt pieces. You know, that. Something's good. Perhaps. It's going to be awesome. It's pushing, yeah, I have to make the term. So I have to great thing. If you want to do the lean hard work, then you get work. Sorry, man, for now. You know, we go through them, you know, like, so nice. Oh, it's good. And I can not it's. Yes. Yes.
This is worked out. He's on the also trouble, but he can stop the step now. Yeah, you know, nice guy too.
Fire seats.
Yeah.
It's,
I said,
Yeah.
it's very nice. At least it's 2 minutes. Afraid. But I'm really young. You put on. Get around like what you was here out here. You secure it. I would rather not see the concerts and lost. Oh, you have a trade one. Oh, it's on. Oh, so far as I know, I say, now I travel like God. And it's pretty long. Because of I'm gonna put it to. I'll do my thing. You're time. I'll find out. Just want to be a little bit. Look at all that soon, and it's not fact here, it's like, why? So I kind of say, so it's. So I'm what the. Revert the. Share values. It's like that. Yeah. You like that to say, I'm smart. Like you're. Somebody there was planning to do all those that. I think it's some Jason. I went back. Sorry, you know, everyone called them, you could go on our text, or whoever going to give it up, he go. Yeah, we got it. You got that, you know, right here, we're out there, we're not, it's at the service spot. Well, they're really ran. Oh, well, it's a whole big sad, it was. That's right, you know, one of the steps over here going, and one of the road. Perfect. Yeah, but still, like you said, I do it, it's no guarantee. The DEP model, yeah, the other side's different. So we need to recommend. Like, you know, it's still very long, still American stuff, and all those things. Yeah, Christian, yeah, I didn't know, that's a good one. So you do it, you want, and then we should go on, nice. River, number. But it's going to be production. Yeah, now that's it's totally out. What we need to so you know how to have the straps to get rid of done, but they just thanks a lot. Right, so she's made her to shift it, to shift the bigger. More trout, and then it's like the offer. Basically, Ramsey Carroll, the grandfather, everything can leave the system there. It looks like we're, yeah, or just means she loves it at a time, but we really don't have that many, and we talked about this before, we don't really have many zoning. Like, don't have. We don't, yeah. Sure. Yeah. And I have these things in the shoreline, so it's. You come back on. You know. He says.
Everybody's out there. I've been trying doing this alternate, I should see you, yeah, I think it's here on this man here.
Okay, so this is when we solve the world's problems next month, but. Oh, wait, next one. I'll share
Really, probably someone I said last week, there was some discussion about trying to do it geographically, but I'm to be honest, I don't want if that's possible.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not like it's just here for this, he has to have deep water access, yeah, road access and even that place for all of that. It's like a board, but that's a. Then you got rain spots, so it's not valid. For some reason, all three words. I'm just, it's constant boring. Well, it's and. Like, we'll see. It's good. That's not so much friendship. Also, I call thank you so just in this all. If you guys, you really stop. 1 year, 1 year, I feel which water to here.
Yeah.
Here, yeah, so that's bad, I mean. You don't have. Oh, it's really, it's that's a. Stress and happen. Full on is here and. Water is from you know, I. Over here.
That happens like.
One time, it's so there, there's machine villages. Just happens that now, like, say we as a town identifies with these great, we charge them all, whatever, the neighbor.
She wanted to push it. I've been doing. We've got them, even that walls. Then on it. Well, that start. That's not that she was wearing the water. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Like scrubbing.
Yeah, that's becoming a big.
Yeah.
So what, that doesn't really require this. Oh, I.
Yeah.
Yeah. See, very sign. That's actually kind of a selfish feeling now. Yeah, because and I was sort of shocked when I was looking into that, how few people actually have to be notified.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The select board's working really hard to make sure more people hear about it, because our obligation is serious. Like when I got here, I put it on the bulletin board. And now, well, now that we understand what it is, we're putting it on their meeting agendas and stuff. But really, it's a DMR, the Murray Hill Sources thing.
Yeah.
Not our.
Here for it.
Yeah.
They followed all the rules, and it's still, yes.
What happened with your father?
It's agriculture, but almost, one of the applicants was, one of the owners of the agriculture was the harbor master.
Yeah.
And so DMR's required to work with the harbor master on approving it or not. But they ended up with a town meeting, the only people who were. The aquaculture, yes, knew about it, because they're only required to notify. Shoreline owners who being at the house to keep this one was not. Charter off toward, they didn't have to notify anybody.
It's three companies, because what I remember from the list here, it's maybe depends on the size of the operation, because when they have to bring them here for me to like. Make sure they're notifying right people.
So we're still wrestling with that, we're gonna meet tomorrow. But the same thing here, the question to me was, if we approve Ted's his reason, but if he approves it, suppose I decided I wanted to do it on Coyote Point, I mean. Could I say, well, you approved Ted?
We
What
would
are
be fine
the-
first.
It would be unreasonable to refuse me that, and you heard that. You heard that.
Yeah.
That's not done. No, but I was just wondering if there are some broader conditions that we could add to the ordinance.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So spot,
or case by case, and like, oh, well, here's my view. And so, but if we didn't sell that, then we sell them, we can make commercial, you know.
And I think, you know, a lot of different classifiable, you know, not working, so, okay. These things are allowed in zones, all subject to further review by the planning. Once you know, decide exactly what you're gonna do, so the planning board, for example, will be able to approve or not approve. The selling of gas or other than one invasive, potentially invasive activities. We can't do that. But we can rewrite the ordinance to give us a little bit more.
So what triggers a site plan review? Because we don't have any business.
There would be a site plan here. Unless,
So commercial uses. So it's tied to, it would be tied to like somebody coming in for one of the. And so then Gary would say, okay, well, you're gonna turn it into an ice cream shop. Great.
So not to get hurt, but you have the tree now.
Yeah.
So you can operate out of. And I can keep down office and he Dave was working at the time and he was like, who's doing? She's like, oh, no, this CDA form, that's all I had to do. I didn't have to register with the town, I didn't have to, and no one ever did a site plan with us. And now. We have a song. And luckily we have neighbors nearby, so we're not bothering anybody. And, you know, Vinny's good with make sure the road is frozen if he's gonna move big trucks.
So that is one of the.
We're trying to fix the home occupation, home business definitions. So that it triggers maybe a larger thing and if you're gonna outside employees and if you get the site plan review, it's gonna get larger.
Yeah, it's actually one of the things Mary Ellen and Jeff.
Theoretically, we're working on it. If you would only come back and do.
From India.
We're supposed to know.
It's not fair, and so anyway,
And correct me if I'm wrong, but the way that the site plan review right now, even it's like more stringent on even smaller businesses.
Yeah.
So they're trying to make it make sense where, you know, this home occupations are in like this box, and then anything that like real commercial activity is in this box where this we really triggers the planning board to do a site plan review. Make sure that they're not disposing of like toxic chemicals, like if they're, you know, in heavy mechanics or machinery or anything like that, which could be. Yeah, obviously that.
So again, many of the businesses are very modest. But when they go over the edge of something, or storage of stuff, or parking is weird, or too many employees, we gotta catch it early, we gotta.
Completely, we have bigger. So I don't need to go.
No, I'm not gonna get your.
No,
It's okay, Dick.
A point of history, same night that we branded, that was the CMFA, Lord Cabin Road. We also we had a petition by Mr. Chairman, Mr. Sherman.
Yeah.
To operate a lobster, hobby lobsters on Woody Drive, that piece of property that it's down there. And we were concerned about, first of all, the facility that he wanted to use that was over 25 years old, so he said, no, we can't use that piece of property of that facility. At that time, it was beyond the time, and I'm not really sure what all the justification of on this.
I heard others.
Yeah.
We're like, so what happened to them?
Yeah, so he said, went to hobby lobsters, and he said, so you can't build a big pier, and you can't build a lobster shack there with that, and to grant him that, we put a condition on him that if anything went beyond his just being hobby lobsters, then that would trigger a review by the planning. And so that was a condition of that, so we have applied conditions.
Yeah, we not built CFMA, so
Yeah, right,
doing a business thing, you have to build a big pier with a shed on it,
yeah,
which is part of CFMA, you put a shed on a pier.
Mhm.
And But I was kind of like, well, why don't you just rezone and see if I'm in it, if that's what he wanted.
Because he wanted to be a home.
The one commercial, wants property.
Yeah.
So he wasn't saying, but we're trying to.
Say, okay, you've decided to do hobby lobsters and now you want to.
more.
Well, like Ted said, there are some more restrictions at CFMA, you know, and it's not a clearing, but so he could have maybe built less. or-
Maybe he didn't want that because then he would have had trouble more restrictions. He's seasonal residences on that.
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
And then we're in a situation now where we did have an application come in front of us, for a property. On the north side of the island, that they had commercial intent, and then they like circumvented us.
Oh.
And, but right now, you know, they're spraying. Yeah, and then they're diving, and then they're spraying up and down. They're swearing up and down to Gary that they're like not doing commercial activity over there, but they told us already that they're gonna store their boats, and be diving and everything, so it just. What are we gonna say, you know?
So, we're gonna
To what people are.
search.
Yeah.
We're gonna keep an eye on you, you know, and your issue for too, but, you all back in that, you know, your, there's, soul.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Talking about, you know, nice to offer trees, you know, that's the kind of thing that so.
I think so, yeah, cause it does, it keeps like, no signage too, and like, it keeps it a little bit more, especially for the people who are but these properties, like more rural or residential, you know.
Really, it's a law, it's a parking water costing on that. But I like this, this property everyone's was that. Less is all, trees on, pine trees. And by planting pine trees, he advised me not to do that, because within 5-10 years, those pine trees are not gonna.
Right into the
Branches.
Yeah.
No, they're not gonna have branches, which you were hoping to have to provide it.
Yeah.
For the tree. This is the problem with jumping on
Right.
branches. Well, I lost it out of that.
Yeah, or have like a, oh, no, a buffer, maybe like a no pop, like a no, like.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna, I keep the documentation and I have to file it as clerk. But I think that'll be more useful to you in the minutes, because you're gonna write down who attended probably. And I don't think you're gonna get the, I don't need her list as long as you can get it.
Which, you know, if something happened and they ever decided to sell the land or transfer it, or like you can put into the deed, like you can say, like, you can sell it with no cut, you know, but that's not up to us.
Yeah, I mean. But,
Yeah.
all right, the rest of the agenda was pretty soft, something I didn't want to put on this conversation, updates on the water study. It was in a, select board. It was 3 weeks ago, so, for sure. I'm very excited to be playing ball park up there.
Yeah, it's just your, no, Zach's gonna be with you so long, and now take this like thing of you thing with him. I mean, whatever, you know, he needs to be back or anything.
I asked the select board for a harder date on potential performances.
Yeah.
And the response was essentially as soon as possible.
Well,
So,
You're trying to say, look, this town meeting, that's not the usual, maybe we should look along the ordinance
oh, no, no,
time.
no, but it's like there are 2 lines of heat that we can put out. So, it's gonna, for us, it's on David, our next meeting, that may be too late, but at least, the target, select board, and all this. One thing that, had a slight conversation with Jim, he's still very interested in getting a land, I guess, so I'm gonna, pick up a little, last year, cut out controversial stuff, and come up with a tear down.
It's the driveway.
That on the agenda for us at the next meeting, and, so, very strong that was, you know, trying to reconcile the water, so, quality, ET standards, doing different, um, ordinances that we have to make that consistent. So I'll draft something up or draft them up to, maybe a little bit more controversial, but useful, take a swing at it. So if you all have anything that you want to put on the table.
And what is the driveway review ordinance?
Yeah, so last year, we called it, Jim, was very concerned about folks who were, putting in driveways, linking them to main road. To the town.
Town.
South.
Okay, because the main road is yes,
Yeah.
Yes.
And generally, we were seeing his life. By where they can driveway competition. And so he wants to have opportunities to, okay. Basically, anybody connecting the town who wants to buy it first. And it's criteria he can apply and saying, no, don't do that, this one. He went to law through last year and got sidetracked for reasons that weren't having to do with you on this, so, if you'd like to take a shot.
Yeah.
And so. We got ordinance in the last.
Oh, yeah.
We. Shoreline zoning ordinance, wow, this year because we have that DEP control approval. Where it gives all these things we're supposed to fix. They wouldn't know that. It's, if you go online and look at it online, the DEP things at the end of the ordinance, we haven't incorporated into it somehow by law, once they issue it. So we're supposed to actually make the changes and fold them in.
Right, I wonder where the magic was happening, okay, so it's at the end of the.
And it's nothing really substantive as far as I could tell. It had nothing to do with the CFMA zoning permit. It's just little tweaks throughout to make it consistent.
So, well. All right, I don't have anything else, anybody else have any new business concerns for sure?
Oh, can I continue studying the shoreline thing since I'm
Yeah, go ahead.
up to my neck in it?
Oh, yeah, yes, yeah.
Lincoln County Regional Planning got back to me and they said they could help a little bit too. They have some jurisdiction there.
Okay, yeah, that's what, this is free range, so.
Yeah.
This year, there's some new people.
Yeah, and if anyone wants to help, if anyone's really dying into studies, there's a lot of spreadsheets I can share.
Yeah, and you just they're going, what's your kind of research focus or orientation?
Well, I sort of boiled down 10 towns that are similar to us in size and in shoreline placement. As many as close to us as possible and a few further afield, but like Freeman is a really good example. I think I looked at Georgetown. I looked at Alma, they're not coastal, they do have some shoreline. Few different ones, and then some of them in Hancock County that's coastal, close to our size. And I just like started to look at those 10 different towns and think, what do you guys do? And right off the bat, I noticed, I went to their CFMA sections, most of them have CFMA, but they don't list out properties like that. And so I haven't dug into it too deeply what the alternative is. Some of them have specific harbors, others don't, and they do have kind of scattered zones. So I need something research, but
Yeah, that's great.
South there.
Yeah, and I'd be interested, like, from your, when there's a new property listed on the CFMA, like, what does that process then look like for you? And what does the town have to do to register it for Lincoln County and then the state, and do you get into that?
I don't think we do register it with anyone. So basically, the county says,
It's on zoning, and that was big.
no. Well, here's what happens. If the town meeting approves it, then it's supposed to go on the ordinance. And that's what happened with Ted's 2 previous properties. Town meeting approved it, but it never got into the ordinance. See how that happens. It's a busy time, so your clerk, you might forget to edit the things that passed it, you need. So that's the first step. That goes into the ordinance, and then it would have to go. We have to let our mapping company know, the GIS people, so they can put it on the tax maps, and then we would run it by the DEP, when the amendments go to the DEP. And as long as they say it's okay, it's done. Are the taxed any different? No, not according to Ashland, which we could tax. Yeah, no, maybe you should tax it differently, but that's a whole nother can of worms, yeah.
Okay, cool.
So much for helping us get ready for this.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was, factor, as they know. See, there's like sausage being made, and so here. But.
I'm sure you've heard Ted a few times.
That's all from the process.
Right, that's right.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Well, that's, you know. No, no. No. No, it's a long, right? That long. Just and serious.
So. Thank you for the matter. And no longer one here. Okay.
But I want to,
Yeah.
but anyway, you know, things happen, and, you know, when, you know. Things that's something it's there, what the it's what's something.
Think China's gonna hire Sharon? You said China's gonna hire for a little culture.
So China's very interested.
Start going to Chinese system.
Wonder if I should stop. I'm supposed to. That'd be great. Alright.
Yeah, I'm fine.